This is the Rays POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Tampa Bay Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Tampa Bay Rays POSTCAST, your spot for instant Rays reaction after every single game. My name is Jonathan Shields. Make sure you guys go follow me on Twitter at Johnny10Shields. Tough one for the Rays and for Rays fans for multiple reasons. The comeback fell short, the long delay. Pepio struggled again, but we're going to talk about all that, but also look at it from a more optimistic point of view because the Rays still won the series and still have everything in front of them to do exactly what we talked about coming out of the All-Star break. So in this one, like I said, we're going to talk about how Pepio struggled, that long delay, and how I think it might have affected some things. We're talking about how, again, it's still winning series and look ahead to see how the Rays can take advantage of the White Sox. But first, we have to talk about that comeback falling just short.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Yes, the comeback falling just short. And, shout out Taylor Walls. Started with him getting that RBI single. And then I am confused why, before Walls, Cabby hit in that situation. He's not good against righties. You had a plethora of lefties on the bench. I would have brought in a Ronda right then and there. And I'm very kind of confused with why he didn't. And, I don't know if he wanted to maybe protect maybe Cabby's speed getting on base and, whether that was in his head. But, leaving a Ronda, Brandon Lau, and Josh Lowe on the bench during that, I find a little bit puzzling, especially in a time that was advantageous when Bautista was, was a little bit wild. And Aranda kind of handles those at-bats really, really well. But, we talked about the Rays needing to win 2 out of 3, and that's what they did. But they had a chance to go for the sweep, and that kind of opportunity fell short with Junior Caminero, and that's where we get to our turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Yes, it was a ball. It should have been 5-4, 100%. But I'm almost in the position, if I'm Junior, I'm taking till 2 strikes because he would have walked anyway. And he got way ahead of himself and almost swung himself out of his shoes. And that's something that can only come with maturity. You can't knock a guy too much for wanting to do too much in that moment. A base hit ties the game. But, I was surprised when he swung. And then how he was so early on the first one, then he was so late on the one that struck him out. So that's kind of the frustrating part because it's right there. The Orioles bullpen is not good. And I was a little surprised he wasn't taking till 2 strikes. But again, it should never been in that position because Junior should have walked. But, I like Junior up more than Morel in that spot because then you start to ask, do you bring in a Ronda or Brandon Lau there? But they probably counter with Soto, and that would have been really interesting if it would have got there. But the turning point is that because it didn't get to that. And, that's only stuff, like I said, is going to come the more Junior plays. Like, I think that we've gotten really spoiled with how good Junior has been. And, again, this was another game that, if the Rays did win, great. But it is not one where the Rays outplayed the Orioles. This was one where the Rays once again tried to come back because they're still not playing their best ball. But there's a lot of encouraging signs to see that they're still coming to that. But, obviously a lot of stuff didn't go their way. And it starts with that rain delay. And that's something I want to talk about. I stepped away from the game for maybe 10 minutes. And it was after they didn't score and nothing happened in the bottom of 6. So I stepped away and I didn't realize the game was going into a delay because I lived in St. Pete and the weather was fine. And, it went to a delay and it was like, okay, the Rays haven't had that too long of a delay. And I was just talking to my family about this earlier, how, knock on wood, the Rays have not had any double headers yet this year, and which is very good. Let's hope it'll stay that way. But I think that delay kind of affected the Rays' energy through the first 2 innings. But in that third inning, in the 9th, it ended up being the Rays really picked up, which I thought was admirable. But, shout out to the bullpen for holding it down. Seymour, it's about time he was used in that multi-inning relief role. And he was really good. And then seeing Baker get a bounce back like he did, very optimistic to see this bullpen finally starting to settle in a little bit after how bad they were during the road trip. But, it's just when you're that close and you get a call like that to not go your way, it's frustrating. And again, I'm confused why the lefties didn't hit. Even though Taylor Walls got a hit in that spot, I am really surprised that he hit there, that he hit there anyway. But, again, there's still good things to take from this. But, the Rays moved to a game and a half back. Seattle looks like that they're about to sweep Houston. So even though the Rays won 2 out of 3, they didn't really gain much ground. Yes, they gained two games on Boston, right? No, 1 game on Boston. They ended up gaining a game on Boston. But, this was game 100. There's 62 games left. A lot of time left. But, it's just tough when you have those opportunities right in front of you and you have a plethora of bats. Not saying anyone would have pinched it for, Junior there, but, I am surprised a little bit that Cabby hit there. But again, I trust Kevin Cash that maybe if Cabby gets on with his speed, it's kind of a difference maker there. But, it is what it is. The Rays got their goal out of this. And now I don't think, a lot of people might be saying, oh, the White Sox come in. You need to sweep the White Sox. You don't need to sweep the White Sox. You need to come take 2 out of 3. The White Sox come in playing good ball. They won again today. And they swept the Pirates. So they come out of the break sweeping the Pirates. So hopefully that means that, they're kind of out of wins on this little trip this little road trip that they're doing. But again, we're going to get into the starting pitching for the White Sox isn't their issue. It's kind of everything else. But again, we'll talk about that when we look ahead. But I want to talk about how, again, still a winning series, which was the point of this. The point of this series was to get a winning series. And that's why the game yesterday was so big to come back and win that game, to not have to worry about coming back in a game like this. But, if you had told me coming into this, the Rays take 2 out of 3 from the Orioles and puts yourself in position to have a 4-2 homestand and talks about everything that we did before the All-Star break, you take that 100 times out of 100. Maybe not 100 times out of 100. A sweep's nice, but, with how poorly the Rays were playing, to come out and really assert themselves in this series is something I think that's really positive going forward. So I think all in all, even though this was a frustrating loss for many reasons, the positives outweigh the negatives. But we're going to talk about Ryan Pepio because I have a lot to say about him. This was a really interesting outing for him because there was times in the first, second, and fourth inning where he was dominant. And then there were times in, the third inning especially, where the third and sixth where he was a little bit more rough. But we'll talk about all of that right after this. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. And my favorite part about FanDuel is the different promotions they use. So whether one day they might have a Nerfy, a no runs first inning promo. Another day they might have who you think is going to hit a home run promo. So even though it's the quote unquote dead time of the offseason, still a ton of stuff to look at with FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can get if you bet just $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. So if you guys are in the live, make sure you like and leave a comment below. What do you guys think about this loss? What did you think was mismanaged? What do you think what do you think the Rays did right going forward? But, we got to talk about Ryan Pepio because, first of all, Alex Jackson hit a home run today. We're not going to hide it. We're not going to hide the obviousness of it. But he had one of his most interesting outings. Of course, you get a home run by Holliday. It's only a home run in Steinbrenner Yankee Stadium, which is kind of tough. But, it is what it is. And then in the second, he was really solid. And the third is where things start to unravel a little bit. And, it starts with the first batter with Alex Jackson. Pepio in that inning was not feeling his pitches other than his fastball changeup. And then even Alex Jackson, when you throw 6 straight fastballs and you throw one right at 95, right down the middle, Alex Jackson is going to get a hold of that. He's still barely, but still a professional baseball player. So again, I just really did not like that sequence. I understand you didn't want to walk him, but I kind of would have maybe gone about it a little bit different. But then after that, he just really did not trust his stuff after that. His stuff, meaning his off speed, his like slider, his cutter, which he didn't use as much. And then you saw him slipping off the mound a few times. But if you go to his breakdown, he was really all fastball changeup. So he used the fastball almost 50% of the time and the changeup 30% of the time. He threw all the other pitches combined just was at 21 times. And some of those was a sinker, which is essentially a fastball. Obviously just a little more cut to it. But he only threw the slider 7 times, only the curveball once. I mean, granted, he doesn't throw the curveball a bunch, but it was some concerning things with his fastball. Like his fastball at times was only down to, I saw it at like 91, 92, 93 sometimes, which was concerning that he might be hurt. But again, he was able to get it back up. But when he got into trouble, he relied too much on his 2 pitches. It was the same thing to Gunnar Henderson on that double. He was throwing just fastball changeup. It was the only thing he felt like he could command. And then Gunnar was dead set on a fastball, and he got it and he ripped it almost 110 into the gap. And when you don't have the advantage of going to your other pitches there, that's what's going to happen. So just a tough outing for Pepio. But again, admirable that he was still able to go 6 innings. And again, he only gave up 6 hits, had 8 strikeouts. So like the first, the second, the fourth, the fifth, and for most of the 6, he was really good. It's just for some of those batters, it was tough for him. But now he's coming off back-to-back outings, giving up 3 or more runs. So again, hopefully next time out he's going to be going up against the Reds, which is going to be a huge series for the Rays. Hopefully he can lock back in. Houston has tied the game against Seattle. That's a sneaky big game. Hopefully Houston can beat the Mariners so the Rays can stay a half game back. But we're going to get to the comments. So you guys are in here again. Rain delay start. So the crowd is kind of just now getting here. Make sure you guys leave your comments below. So go to Cameron Vim, Pelt first, and something that we talked about. Left-hand bats, Aranda, Brandon Lau, Josh Law on the bench in the 8th inning with the man on first, 1 out. For some reason, we trust Morel, and I like Morel with his game management. Kitcher's on the mound. Yeah, that one you are a little bit confused at, but I'm more talking about in the 9th inning. Yes, the 8th inning, they probably should have hit from there too, but I think Morel earned is the wrong word for it. So is deserved, but I think there was enough trust in him to have him hit in that spot. And I think Morel is a guy that should be playing more than once a week or whenever a lefty plays. Like I think Jake Mangum could really use an off day. He's probably playing some of his more of his worst stretch of the season right now. So I wouldn't mind seeing Morel in there more. I mean, he had that great catch and left today off that ball. I mean, I wonder what the catch percentage was on that. But Mangum another 4 didn't get a hit yesterday, so I wouldn't mind just giving him a day off. He plays so hard. And sometimes I can come back to bite you. I'm not saying Mangum needs to not play every. I'm not saying that, but just maybe an extra day off here and there. So yeah, it was tough. And then Cameron is a little bit upset that says Cash conceded the game during the delay. I don't believe that because he brought out Seymour and Baker, which are 2 of his more better arms in the bullpen. Now, if you would have seen Engler, who was supposed to go out there, then maybe you could say that, but I think concede is a little bit of a big word, but I've been on record saying whenever Kevin Cash gets down 2 runs, he loves throwing, whether it was Cole Sulser for a time, Englert now, whatever. But so I see that to it. But yeah, definitely interesting. I wonder if the reporter's going to ask him post-game why he didn't go to some of the bats off the bench. As Dante Hamilton talks about, Pepio did not have his best stuff today, but not his worst outing. Again, he really only had 1 bad inning. The Holiday home run is, whatever. It is what it is. Hearn home run, again, it's another one where he's an all-star for a reason. He's a good hitter. But it's that 3rd inning where I really circle and was like, man, I wish you could have some of those back. But he was dominant. I mean, 4th and 5th inning, he was really, really dominant. As we go to Michael Townley, he said, good they won the series, but once again, questionable decisions by the coaches could have potentially cost them a win. In what world are you letting Cabby hit in the 9th? He cannot hit righties. Yeah, that was the one where I circle. Like, that was really interesting that Arana didn't hit there because I get maybe, again, it would have been really interesting to see if Junior would have eventually walked, what they would have done with Morel, because if you do bring in a lefty there, I assume Aranda would have been the pinch hitter. Do you trust Aranda against Soto or do you trust Morel against Bautista, which was really ended up probably would have been the matchup. But unfortunately, we don't get to see how that would have came out. But yeah, definitely interesting to see the management of the bench in this one. As Michael also talks about, hopefully don't get swept by the White Sox like they did last year. That would be like code red bad if they do. But speaking of that, let's preview the game tomorrow against the White Sox. So Shane Baz versus Sean Burke. Again, the White Sox starters, or the ones that the Rays are going to see, have not been the reason for the White Sox demise. Sean Burke has been pretty good this year, 4-8 with a 4.36 ERA, 80 strikeouts, a 1.4 WHIP. Obviously, there's not any world beaters. Like, for example, against Toronto, just 2 starts ago, gave up 6 runs. But in his last handful of starts, only 1 run, 5 innings against the Cardinals, 0 runs, 5 innings against the Diamondbacks, 1 run, 6 innings against the Dodgers, 2 runs, 5 innings against Cleveland. Like, he's put together some really good outings. So this is not something where, the Rays can just scoff and say, oh, it's the White Sox. No, the White Sox have some guys, starting with Sean Burke here, that, has been good. And if you look at him on the road, he's actually been much worse on the road than at home. On the road this year is 0-5 with over a 5 ERA. So something to look at. He's also been really bad at night. He's 1-5 with over a 6 ERA at night. So, put into stock whatever you do there. And, righties are actually hitting 270 off him. I wonder if that's what had kind of any impact on the game. But, he's going up against Shane Baz. And Baz is a guy really been feast or famine, but it's been feast lately for him. He's been very, very good lately as Shane Baz comes in 8-5 with a 4.1 ERA. But recently, he's been really good. He's coming off 6 1/3 with just 1 earned against the Red Sox, and unfortunately picked up the loss because Garrett Crochet turned into prime Cy Young in that game. But, he's gone at least 6 innings in his last 4 starts, and he's been giving up 3 runs or less in all of them. So, I mean, he's been pretty much as good as it gets recently, ever since that stretch he had in May where he was pretty bad. Since the Rays started the stretch, he's been really, really good. He's, the last 2 months he's pitched to a 3.2 ERA. So hopefully stuff for the same. So I also want to mention really good news on Brandon Lau with his foot, not oblique. So hopefully, he will probably be in the game tomorrow. So also really good to see Isom Kim playing every day. Like, I know he's back and healthy or whatnot, but they're really cautious with him coming back. So again, if the Rays lose the series to the White Sox, then we have some more kind of red flags to talk about. But for now, you take the Rays winning 2 out of 3 against Baltimore, a team that they've struggled with. That doesn't matter how good or bad Baltimore's been with. Ever since the Rays went like 17-1 against them in 2022, was it? Before Baltimore got really good, they have struggled. Since then, they've struggled against Baltimore. So winning a series against Baltimore is always really good. And then you still have everything in front of you for getting a winning homestand. We hope Seattle loses tonight. But again, if they don't, worst thing is worse. You gain the gain on the Red Sox during this stretch. So again, look at this game more optimistically, and hopefully the Rays come out and take care of business against the White Sox. So if you guys made it all the way to the end, make sure you guys leave a like and comment, and we will see you guys tomorrow night, hopefully after a Rays win. See you then.